to the Night Pod Cometh, a show covering the legendary FXX show. It's always sunny in Philadelphia. I am Jamie G. Esquire the Fifth, and if Dennis really wants to get divorced, he needs to simply call me. Dennis, I'm here for you, bro. Give me a call. No, I can't defend you in a court of law, but you should call me anyways. I'm here with my co-host, Magnum Mills, and we're going to crash the wedding.
I like that, dude. I'm Magnum Mills, and seriously, you got us, man. So you don't need Vince Vaughn or Luke Wilson. You don't need the Hatfields and the McCoys because you've got the Ponderosas and the McPoyles and us. We are the Night Pod Cometh. Thank you for checking us out. You can find us on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. We are on social media at Night Pod Cometh. Do not forget to have some independent party. Test the milk punch before you drink it. You want to make sure it has not been spiked. And do not forget the flaps. Follow, like, and please subscribe. Helps other people find our show, find our channel. We really appreciate it. If you have fun, and you should have fun at this one, it's a good one, please give us that thumb.
And just a heads up, the Night Pod Cometh is an absolute full-on spoiler affair. All episodes of Sunny, any podcasts, interviews, literally every single thing related to Sunny is fair game and open for discussion here. And this is the only time you're going to be warned, so heed thy warning.
Let's do this thing!
This is the Maureen Ponderosa Wedding Massacre, Season 8, Episode 3, the 88th overall episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Originally aired October 25th, 2012. The estimated live audience in the United States was approximately 1.12 million viewers. Episode was directed by Richie Keene, who has directed 15 episodes of Sunny, the most recent being The Gang Gets Cursed from season 16, and this was actually the first episode of Sunny that he directed. Episode was written by the Big Three, Charlie Day, Glenn Howerton, and Rob McElhenney. Notable guest stars include Jimmy Simpson as Liam McPoyle, Nate Mooney as Ryan McPoyle, Catherine Reitman as Maureen Ponderosa, Lance Barber as Bill Ponderosa, Bessie Surface as Margaret McPoyle, Jeremy Ratchford as Detective, and finally, Guillermo del Toro as Pappy McPoyle. The short plot synopsis is, the gang are prime suspects for the McPoyle-Ponderosa Wedding Massacre.
Before we get into the episode here, Mills, go ahead and just walk us through any notable callbacks, references, trivia, just general whatnot here before we start breaking her down.
Roger Dodger, I got a couple things here. This is the second Halloween episode the show has done. The first one was Who Got Dee Pregnant? Guillermo del Toro wound up on the show because he worked on the film Pacific Rim, which he directed with Charlie Day. And Charlie Day was like, hey, why don't you show up on the show? The original title was Maureen Ponderosa's Wedding Massacre, but it was later changed. May or may not have something to do with the Ponderosa Steakhouse. Who knows? And this was actually the first episode not to feature the usual opening song, Temptation Sensation. And bath salts were a real thing. There was kind of an event in Miami back in the day, May 26, 2012, and the homeless dude, people thought he was on bath salts or whatever, assaulted another dude and kind of like chewed his face off and then got shot and killed. But remember, it was a big thing. It went viral. So this is based off of something. And this episode marks the first time that Max is referred to by his full name, Ronald McDonald, since it was revealed in the season 7 two-part finale episode, The High School Reunion Part 1. And shout out Jeremy Ratchford. He's a detective here, also played a detective in the show Cold Case, which was also set in Philadelphia. So if he does it one more time, I think he's officially allowed to be an actual detective in Philadelphia.
Before we get into the Wedding Massacre, let's give our overall thoughts on the episode. Mills, this sure as hell isn't a typical episode of Sunny, but did it work for you, man? Did it deliver?
I think it absolutely did. I always have fun when they kind of play in other genres. In here, they get to just do a lot of fun stuff, even with the different music. A lot of Sunny, you'd be amazed what the music does for you here. And I think the score is excellent throughout. The performances are fun. They really do kind of go all out with the zombie stuff, all the background actors, everything like that. The McPoyles are great. You get Pondy. I really think this is the show firing on all cylinders. I've enjoyed it every time I've ever seen it. It only gets better on rewatch, I think. How about yourself, man? Over thoughts on the massacre?
I'm so glad that we decided to do this and time it up with Halloween, 'tis the season, all that, Friday the 13th, all of it. I literally forgot how great of an episode this was. I can't believe this one. I won't say it gets slept on, but it remains under the radar when you start talking about some of the absolute bangers, and there's a ton of them. with this show overall. But I forgot how great this was. This is definitely a high point of season 8 for me. And it was way better than I even remembered. I love this episode. I love kind of the structure that they use. We've seen it done it before where you kind of like start at the end and then they tell the story and you get the twists and the turns throughout the episode. But this was very, very well done. Enjoyed it. Mucho, mucho, mucho. Awesome episode.
Again, I think this is probably the real true Halloween episode for the show. So, if anyone's ever asking like, oh, what show had the best Halloween episode? I'd throw this in the mix. I don't think it's the best Halloween episode any show has ever done ever, but I think it's a very good one.
I hope that you've got your bath salts and divorce papers ready because it is time to go to a wedding massacre.
Isn't every wedding a massacre or just the ones I go to? On Friday the 13th, we're somewhere outside of Philadelphia, and Mac, Dennis, Frank, and Charlie are running for their lives when the police arrive. After the opening credits, we find the guys in a police interrogation room. They were at a wedding where something went horribly wrong, and they are all suspects. We learn that the missing bride is Dennis's ex-wife, Maureen Ponderosa. In a flashback, Dennis, Mac, and Charlie are going to crash the wedding so that Dennis can get Maureen to sign divorce papers, relieving him of his alimony obligations. They arrive and find out that Maureen is marrying none other than Liam McPoyle. Liam doesn't seem too happy, and we learn that his brother Ryan does not approve of the marriage. Dennis tries to calm everybody down because he needs this wedding to happen. Back in the interrogation room, the detective asks why the wedding wouldn't happen, and Dennis implies that Frank might have wanted to ruin it. You mentioned it, man. Do you like the framing device here? We've seen the interrogation thing. It's not quite full on Rashomon, but you get the different perspectives, and every time through you add a little bit more to it. Almost maybe a little bit of a usual suspects thing going on here. Does that work for you?
It kept me interested in the story, what they thought happened, what really happened. It sets the tone. Sonny's been outstanding at kind of these cold opens. I thought this one works for me just because I like they leaned into this kind of spooky Friday the 13th element, and I thought this was a great way to do it. So for me, I'm okay with this, man. I think it worked out really well.
Yeah, I'm there for it too. They usually get, occasionally whenever you get the cops, they always get good kind of guest stars to play like the very stereotypical cops. And I think they are great here. How about the Halloween of it overall? Do you think they lean into it enough? Do they do it too much? Is it just about right? Any thoughts on kind of just the overall Halloween aspect of it?
Honestly, I think they probably could have leaned into it a little bit more. It was the bats and the zombies, but I think they could have did a little bit more. I mean, one of the smaller things that they did here that I really enjoyed was the end credits being all in red. I just that's like a little thing, but I thought it was really cool just the way that they changed the font and did the red. I think it was a healthy amount of Halloween to where it didn't become. They're never the type to like over the top something. But they did enough to kind of get you there. I think it probably could have used maybe even just a smidge more, but I think they chose to use humor and just how absolutely weird the McPoyles are. That was scary enough, kind of, right? So I think they kind of did some things with the sound and the dun and the way the camera hit and stuff like that to kind of add a little creepiness to it. It was a healthy balance while still maintaining the comedic element that we need.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe a little bit more would have been cool, but I think they did a good job really embracing it. Just nice little touches here. You see Charlie being nervous to leave Philly, even though it is on the bus. Early on, you see the scratches around Dennis's neck. We'll eventually find out what they are. And just like the cops call them bozos, that's a Mac word, right? Where he calls people bozo, or he thinks it's cool. So I thought that was just a nice little touch. And then obviously, like, Max sets up the bats, and we'll see that happen in a minute here. And then the intro to Liam, where he just kind of, hey, what's up, guys? And turns around, he's wearing the crazy get up and everything like that. So all that definitely worked for me. And any other thoughts kind of on the setup of it all here?
Well done. I appreciate those little, I won't call them Easter eggs, but just some of those little things you just referenced there that are for the real ones out there.
Yeah, we love the details. I mean, we just finished season 16. This is season 8. It's literally half a show ago. It's pretty wild. After that, we flash back again to see Dee and Frank arrive at the wedding. Frank claims that he's only there to support Pondy because he's his AA sponsor. Dee says that she's only there to support Frank, but Dennis isn't buying it. He thinks that Frank and Dee enjoy the power they have over him due to the financial burden of his alimony payments. Suddenly, a bat bites Frank's head. He pays Dee $200 to suck out the poison, and she swallows it. While telling the story, Frank admits that he and Dee were in fact there to break up the wedding for all the reasons Dennis stated. But it wasn't just for them. Ryan McPoyle came by Patty secretly a week earlier and teamed up with Frank and Dee to ruin the wedding. They smuggled Ryan in so that he can talk to Liam. Pondy rolls up asking for Frank's help as a sponsor because weddings are a big trigger for him. Frank supports the decision to pound a beer, but it's a dry wedding. There's only milk. He decides to do some drugs instead, and Frank tells him go for it. He's earned it. Frank Reynolds, great guy, terrible sponsor, right?
Yeah.
Or I mean, he supported
really
every
is.
decision he wanted to make, right?
This was something that Sonny does so well, and they take such a serious topic like addiction, and they put their own spin on it to make it funny. And the satire of it all just is great. But yeah, I love Frank here in this role. He's, and then when you got Dee telling you, man, you're an awful sponsor, you're pretty bad.
Yeah, it really is. And there's always fun little stuff here. There is, I mean, it's Sunny and they will do base jokes, but the whole thing with sucking the poison out of Frank's head, they definitely do like a suck swallow thing. Like they definitely do a suck swallow joke. And then Dee's final line when she's trying to puke the poison back up, she's like, "It won't come, Frank." I mean, they're definitely kind of, getting it in there. Didn't, a little bit of you get the good rim shot when it's there. And dude, who do you think rocked the outfit better? You had Liam in the crazy tux get up he had on, or Ryan with his fake mustache and his disguise?
I love that tux, dude. I absolutely do. But when Ryan puts the mustache on, I laugh every time, dude. That's just so funny to me. And he buys it that it's totally
right. Later on, it pays off with Liam like, and who's that? And then he rips off the. It's so good. It's
yeah, it's set up really well there. It's just perfect, man. But dude, shout out to that suit. I would absolutely wear that.
Yeah, that's, I mean, straight out of the 70s ish, I would say. Wedding tuxedo. I can see it back then a little bit. And just shout out Frank when they get there. Did Dee for buying a violet? Is that violet? I guess you would call it the exact color, but PT Cruiser. That is a very, very, very specific car. And after they get there, Frank's like, that was a swervy road. I've never called a road swervy before, but I might now.
Yeah, that works. The bit with the suck it out of my head, that and you even get Frank really leaning into this where he's like going up and down and she's like,
Quick, what are you? This is the kind of scene that I was talking about. Go home, please.
Suck it harder.
I got it.
Did you swallow it?
Of course I
Make
swallowed.
yourself-
this is really good. And one thing I love about it is when she's done and she's in classic Dee here with the physical comedy, but while she's like trying to gag herself, you see just the lipstick smear on Frank's head. Just, oh man, just that bit right there was just really funny to me. I know it's just like a raunchy, stupid thing, but it was really funny. I don't know, it just worked.
Yeah, and one of the nice little horror bits they did was when Ryan shows up at Patty's and they do the thunderclaps and the dark lighting. We never really see Patty's lit that way. And then they have the little meeting in the back office. I thought all that was shot really well and added to the kind of the Halloween atmosphere of it all. And then, that's how you get to slip in like little inbred jokes and you don't mind and, spit swallow jokes because they're doing everything. Again, I think this is just, definitely top-notch writing for the show, really firing on all cylinders. And just a little bit when Pondy's leaving Dee, he's like, "Hey, did you miss me?" Don't answer that. Pondy.
Pondy's dressed smooth here.
This is before he went off the rails completely. This is still when
Yes.
the train was still on the tracks a little bit, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean he was clean shaved. I mean he was definitely definitely looking all right here, man. So, and again, good setup here with the eventual spiking the milk with the bath salts thing because the dry wedding, they're serving milk in there. It's just a good setup here, I thought, from a writing standpoint too.
Good setup from a writing standpoint, bad from a wedding planning standpoint. I cannot think of many things less appetizing than a big giant bowl of lukewarm communal milk.
Yeah, that's
even if it was a cereal wedding, a cereal based wedding, I don't know that I would be there for that. I'd still want cold milk.
Yeah, I'd have to have cold milk, but if you just did a bunch of Josh's Jacks in there, I would and Flutie Flakes and stuff, I could probably get there, but
yeah, how much Flutie Flakes are worth way more in the box, son. You can't eat those. What are you, crazy? They're like the Ninja Turtles pies. Can't do it, dude.
I know.
You gotta invest.
I know. It's a good investment. Long-term growth.
After that, Mac, Dennis, and Charlie go into the wedding where a bunch of very similar looking people are enjoying milk from a punch bowl. Dennis splits off from the group to find Maureen. When he does, he tries to get her to sign the documents before discovering that she's enhanced herself physically. Her new enhancements distract him, and Maureen's bridesmaids come in and haul his ass out of there before Maureen can sign the papers. I don't want to put too high of a bar on this. Is this a top 25 Dennis scene of all time?
Oh my God. Top 25? It could be. It is way up there. His reaction to both when he notices her breast implants, but then she's talking about fixing her dead tooth, and he just goes directly to, I'm talking about your tits. I mean, it's just, dude, it is unbelievable Dennis here. It's Dennis firing at all cylinders, in my opinion. I love this scene. I laughed so hard at this dude. It's just classic Dennis. You know, he goes in trying to weasel out the signature or whatever, and he ends up getting a surprise, shall we say.
Yeah, and shout out to Richie Keene. Great direction, because we get the reveal at the same time as Dennis. They shoot it in such a way that we don't see what's going on either until she turns around, and he sees it as soon as we do. And that is great directing. And the groan, like Howard did, it says just, I think, groan in the closed captioning, but it's just this weird little sound he makes. And it adds so much to it. And shout out Catherine Reitman, the way she plays it, so kind of, oh, whatever. She even literally says OMG instead of just saying, oh my God. Just so kind of almost cartoon-like. And on top of that, she got her tooth fixed, right? That was like the major strike against her. And she was like finally acknowledged it. Like she didn't even know about it before. Now she got it fixed. And I mean, maybe Dennis should have just embraced the chaos instead of trying to get her to sign the papers. Who knows?
She looked very beautiful in her wedding dress. Let's just give her that. But the way they also, just the subtleness of like the camera, a little sound as she like turns around and she's like under the spotlight and he gets that view of her, it worked really well. And Dennis's reaction here is just, you almost knew at this scene we were going to get the Dennis climaxing face, right? Somewhere in this episode. It just felt that way.
That's the thing is, it's so good, but it might not even be it might only be top 3 Dennis reaction in this episode, because but we'll talk about more of that when we get to our 5-star men later on. Let's pick back up with Dennis when he rejoins Mac and Charlie at the wedding and says that they should find Liam and get his signature first. Charlie points out that everybody is acting weird and uses Pappy McPoyle, shout out Guillermo del Toro, as an example. Then we cut back to the interrogation room where Charlie has an explanation for everything. Zombies. He's seen this before in a rat. Charlie then gives the detective a long monologue from Jaws before Dennis cuts him off, noting that it was not zombies, and then he proceeds to explain what happened. Stopping here just to point out, Guillermo del Toro, pretty awesome, right? Definitely a director I always enjoy, and he is absolutely outstanding as Pappy McCoyle, just like he was when he showed up in a cameo in Barry. Not going to tell you when, so I'm not going to spoil it for you, but he also has an excellent cameo there. Any thoughts on the cameo? Is he perfect for Pappy McCoyle? Who else going to be, like Bill Murray or somebody?
Yeah, Bill Murray would be a really interesting one.
Terry Gilliam, maybe, if you're going to go like more older director.
Yeah, I could see that working. But yeah, they nailed this here, and they've done a really good job, I think, by and large with these cameos. But this is a really good one.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably one tiny plot hole here. Like Dennis saw Liam outside. Why didn't he just get Liam to sign then? That's probably a little bit of an oversight, whatever. But shout out the Jaws monologue, right? Just want to point it out. I think Charlie Day is really good here. And I've seen Jaws, I would say a bunch of times in my life, but it's not a movie I could ever quote like that or whatever. However, you on Jaws, right? It feels like that could be, even though it's not a traditional Halloween movie, there's definitely horror movie aspects to it, right? It feels like it's season appropriate.
Bro, when Jaws came out, it was scary. I mean, how many people today in their 30s and 40s are still scared of getting in the water?
Going in the water like that? Yeah.
I mean, for real, bro. Like,
that's why they used to sell a little plastic fin joint. People could swim and like pretend to do the shark thing and weird people out.
Oh my God. Jaws was, I love, and we don't get a ton out of Charlie in this one. So this was a real highlight. We needed it big time with Charlie.
Yeah, definitely right up there with the highlight of the episode for Charlie. So just wanted to point that out and say, hey, watch Jaws. Maybe we'll do it sometime on Regular Dudes Watch Stuff. Who knows? Could be a fun one. Then we flash back to the wedding where Mac and Charlie are weirded out enough to leave, but Dennis stays behind. He's still got to get that signature. We then cut to Dee and Frank, who are with Liam, and they lead him to a room where Ryan is waiting. Dee and Frank leave them alone to figure things out, and then they encounter some zombie-like people in the hallway. That's enough for Dee, who takes off. I mean, they kind of really crank up the Halloween horror stuff here, right? You get I'm assuming it was a contortionist or whatever, walking across the hallway. That was pretty creepy, and I'm assuming practical for, if that was a digital effect with the top half taken off or something, that was really good. I'm assuming they got an actual contortionist for that one.
Yeah, I mean, bro, would that surprise you at all at a McPoyle wedding? I mean, seems absolutely par for the course. I enjoyed it, and again, it was the little things like that sudden sound with the camera, just to create that little bit of jolt from a viewer standpoint. I thought they did a really good job with tying it in, reminding you that this is in fact a Halloween scary episode.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, this is where we get the thing we've talked about, where Ryan comes in the disguise with the mustache, and then Liam doesn't recognize it until he takes it off.
Who's this guy?
Ryan! We need to talk!
That is so good, as is Liam just ranting about the McPoyle bloodline. That whole bit is awesome. Shout out Jimmy Simpson, who's obviously gone on to, Westworld and been in a bunch of other stuff since Sunny, but been back on Sunny as well. All of that was excellent, as was the random horror movie stuff. Guillermo del Toro, screaming about all the McPoyle springing from his loins and then kind of crying. You got a dude randomly just walking into the wall, people foaming at the mouth. I thought they did a really good job of kind of really setting up, the whole atmosphere of it all. And Dennis is kind of yeah, whatever. Someone throws a chair at him, Jake's foaming at the mouth, and he's like, yeah, I got to get the signatures.
At this point, too, you don't really know necessarily what's going on because you haven't heard Dee's side of it yet. So it's just kind of cool how they work that in.
Yeah, they're leaving it in play a lot like when they did The Gang Goes to Hell. Kind of the same thing where you do this interrogation intro and then you do the flashback. And then, they're obviously, we said spoiling everything. They're in the insurance adjuster's office or whatever, the cops, instead of, at the gates of heaven or whatever that, it might have been here. Same kind of thing. Works better here, I think, even than it did there. So back in the interrogation room, Frank says that that's the last time anybody saw Dee, but Charlie and Mac tell him that it isn't. They saw her outside and they told her about the zombies and that someone must have stolen her new car. Dee then immediately attacks them. Dennis makes his way through the zombies, where Frank is still posted up outside of the room where Ryan is talking Liam out of getting married. Frank bursts into the room, and after some initial misdirection, we see that Ryan is sobbing at Liam's feet. Liam intends to taint the bloodlines of the rest of the world with McPoyle blood, which will help them take over the world. Long story short, the wedding is still on, and Liam signs Dennis's documents. Dude, how about the misdirect when they just walk in and you see they're obviously going, you know what they're going for when they show it that way?
Yeah.
But they've always leaned into the weird relationship between Liam and Ryan, but I mean, that's peak. It's so good. I mean, it's just absolutely hysterical. Every time I watch it, I can't help but
it really is. And a nice bit of tie-in here too, because earlier in the episode, Dee's like, yeah, and then you guys can talk or bang or whatever it is that you want to do. So she already throws it out, that they have some strange kind of relationship there, and then we get this and it comes full circle. So I thought that was really cool, just how they mentioned it earlier in the episode, and then boom. And the way this is shot, it definitely looks. But what I love about it is the eye contact that he makes right off hey, as it's happening. This just all-time classic McPoyle stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of right up there with the gang too. Kind of like they know this is what they believe, but kind of even seeing it would be shocking. And just again, shout out great directing, Richie Keene, absolutely killing it here, and just Liam yelling like McPoyles will take over the world. I loved all of that, and it's definitely a scene as far as the bit with Charlie and Mac, and then Dee. When you watch this, knowing that they are actually the ones that stole Dee's car and wrecked it, it definitely adds a layer of humor to it.
Yes, 100%.
They really do love wrecking Dee's cars. Well, at this point, Frank has had enough, but Dennis still wants to get Maureen to sign the papers. We go back to Charlie and Mac, who have managed to secure Dee inside of a walk-in freezer. Charlie hypothesizes that Dee sucking the bat poison out of Frank's head turned her into a zombie. After a lengthy debate about various horror movie genres and Batman, they decide that she must have bat rabies. They see another zombie and they run off in fear, leaving Dee locked in the freezer. Shout out Caitlin Olsen. Just her physical comedy, the way all the faces she is making in the door of that freezer. I know that's why they specifically, I'm assuming, got a freezer with a door so she can make all of those faces and do that. It's just outstanding, right? I mean, she's so good at this.
She really is. I mean, it was the perfect usage, and it added so much to this scene where it's like, it just, could you imagine if it was just a solid silver and they just closed it and that was it, right? Like we would be missing a lot. So I'm really glad that we got that part of her. That portion of Dee Reynolds is just when she's at her best, in my opinion, on the show.
Yeah, and I think this is top tier writing here because you get the usual Charlie thing where he confuses things. He's like, well, why would Batman, he's very confused about why Batman turned out the way he is. But then it comes into a whole thing about, comic book movies winning awards now. But you have to remember, this is back around the time The Dark Knight came out. This is how far back that was. So it's kind of cool they're tying it in like this. And you could tell this is when it started getting them a little bit, that they couldn't get any kind of critical, or I shouldn't say critical acclaim, but awards acknowledgement. And so eventually that will turn into the gang desperately tries to win an award, which is another one of my favorites. Back in the main room at the wedding, Frank, Mac, and Charlie are hiding behind a table plotting their escape. Dennis joins them, saying that he couldn't get her to sign and things have gone terribly, terribly bad. He did something bad, something really, really bad. They make a break for it just as all hell breaks loose. They make it out into the woods, which is where the police found them at the beginning of the episode. I don't think much here other than this is where Liam loses his eye in this, so becomes the whole basis of McPoyle versus Ponderosa, Trial of the Century in season 11, which we are covering very soon. So we actually get to see that here. So from here on out, Liam will always have the eye patch, which is great. And Jamie G, when you first saw this, I don't think you wouldn't believe Dennis actually killed Maureen, right? Like, what bad thing do you think he did? Like, did you have any idea?
Oh man, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, my brain automatically went to they hooked up. That wasn't necessarily the surprise of this episode for me. But with Dennis, you never know. Could he have potentially accidentally killed her or hurt her? It is Dennis, bro. Like, maybe.
I mean, he
So
just
like
wanted the skins, right? He just wanted the skins.
One of the skins. I like the suspense of it.
I couldn't figure it out. I thought maybe he killed somebody else or something like that, thinking it was Maureen. I could kind of see them going a dark,
like a grandmother McPoyle.
Somebody someone else was trying on her dress or something like that when he went back, or he thought that they were a zombie. You know what I mean? Kind of a way to play it off or something like that. I could see it happening for what it's worth, and just shout out again the show. They really did. Spend a couple bucks here with all the zombie extras and the makeup running around. It's not full, Walking Dead, but I think they did a good job with it.
Totally agree. Well, and you kind of see it kind of throughout some of the flashbacks and stuff, just kind of this chaotic place where people are just walking all over the place and banging into walls and stuff like that. I thought they did a good job of making it seem something's obviously going on, right? So I like that. It adds to the suspense of what the hell did happen. And we haven't said it enough, but shout out to the interrogator. He's just awesome throughout this whole thing. The police officer is just fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of the detectives, we're kind of back there in the police station. The detectives do not believe the story that the gang is putting down here. And another officer brings Dee into the interrogation room. Dee looks very frozen, and she explains that nobody was infected with anything, and she tells them her side of the story. After splitting up with Frank, she encountered Pondy and learned that he spiked the milk with bath salts. That's like Coke, acid, and meth combined. It's awesome. Dude, I just want to point out, spiking people's drinks is very, very bad, yet Pondy, very, very awesome. It's a contradiction we're just going to have to live with, right?
Yes, we are. But I mean, dude, is this? I don't know, man. Every time I get an episode with Great Pondy, it just makes me realize how much I miss Pondy on the last couple of seasons here. I know he's doing the young Sheldon thing or whatever, but like, damn, dude, bring Pondy back, bro. Like he's so you gotta have him, man. It's
Yeah, I
huge
mean,
miss
God
when he's
forbid
not
we
there.
get Pondy and the lawyer in the same episode. I think the universe would like implode, maybe. Would so be there for that. And I just loved a little bit when he rolls up to D and he's just like,
These nuts! What's the half? Say, here, have a sip. Right from the cow's titty. You love it.
I'm just going to
These
definitely
nuts.
roll up to more people and be like, yo, what's the haps? I'm bringing it back. It's been a while now. This is like 15 years ago, this episode almost, man. Like, I can bring back what's the haps. It's almost, nostalgic at this point.
Yeah. What's the haps? I love it. I'm there for it. And I love you kind of notice throughout the episode, every time he interacts with D, he's got a cute little nickname for her. D's nuts is probably my favorite one that he uses, but he's got every time he sees her, he's got something new for her. So that's pretty cool.
He's got a lot of little pet names. And just shout out, let's see if I can nail it. Methylene diproxyprovolone. That's Fondy nails it though. I bet you that took a couple takes.
I spiked the milk with methylene dioxypyrovalerone. What? It's bath salts.
Yeah. I wonder how many it took. Okay, so we sit here and it's 2023. You got to remember when they filmed this, bath salts were a thing sweeping this nation where people were doing them. Remember, there was people like eating people in Florida and stuff on bath salts. It was definitely a thing.
I think it was more of I think it was like 90% bluster and like 10% actually a thing, but like it was like somebody did it at some point. Like eating Tide Pods.
It was
like,
in the news.
I don't think everyone was really doing it, but somebody did it, and then everyone else pretended they did.
It was a relevant topic, though, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Oh, super relevant. Yeah, this is
so you watch back now and you're like, wow, I haven't like bath salts. Like that's man, we haven't heard that in a long time, but it was very relevant when they filmed.
Don't do bath salts, and I'm assuming since we haven't heard
never do bath salts.
Not that good. So
yeah,
stay away.
Don't stay away, please.
Full Alice in Chains there. Full stay away. Back in the interrogation room, everybody agrees that bath salts seem like a logical explanation. I mean, that's why D assaulted Mac and Charlie, right? Nope. It turns out that D made it outside just in time to see Mac and Charlie crash her new car. Another one of her cars destroyed by the gang. That's why she immediately assaulted them.
And I just love as she's like, you sons of, it snaps back to the interrogation room and she's like, you sons of, you're going to pay. And then they haul her out and the guys are like,
she's like kicking. They have her all in all that makeup and the way she's just resisting so hard and everything. It's just so great. And again, Richie Keene, the cut here, because they cut right from D, like attacking them to like doing the same arm flailing motion in the interrogation room. The cops are hauling it off.
As they're hauling her out. Yeah, but honestly, I just love Charlie here with.
You asshole, no, we won't pay. You never do.
That's just so
a little
great.
better. They got a little better with it there.
Yeah.
I'm amazing. There for it. Just stay off the Facebook, but if you got a meta, get D obviously is pissed at them, and the officers remove her from the room as she vows revenge. Dennis tells the detectives that everything has been explained, so he gets them to leave. The detectives stop him, noting that nobody has explained the missing bride yet. Dennis was the last one to see her, so he's the number one suspect. With no other options remaining, Dennis has to tell his story. He found Maureen, but instead of getting her to sign the papers, he had sex with her. The detective doesn't buy it, but somebody enters the room and whispers in his ear. He tells Dennis that he's free to go. Someone posted his bail. Maureen enters the room, and the episode ends with Dennis begging for help. I mean, kind of nice Halloween-y twist, right? Dennis is going to be subjected to this torture of his own making. Now, theoretically, he's back with Maureen and he owes her alimony still. Is that not the worst of both worlds? Did you like the ending?
I did, because I think that's the ultimate scariest moment. There was a lot of scary moments throughout this episode, but that's the real nightmare here, is now he has to live it with her cat sweater and everything that she was wearing. I love that. And then they kind of end with him. I thought that was fantastic with him just kind of like begging for help. I think it works, dude. Just given how the episode played itself out, I'm a big fan of this ending, man. I mean, I just, to me, it works perfectly. I thought it was really well done. It's hard for me to really nitpick this one, man. I can't think of a better ending. I mean, really.
I mean, I'm there for you. This is where we get the Dennis O face, and he has like a midget, like just like immediate PNC, not talking about the bank. Where as soon as like he, kind of comes to, he's like, "Yo, no, you got to sign these papers. What am I doing? Like, who? Like the nipple placement is crazy. If somebody tells you that, it's either a very good thing or a very bad thing." And then just a little bit at the end where he's like, "Oh, I'm going to run away, but not with you." And Marine's like, "I'm going to find you." That definitely got some. I think Isla Fisher did almost that same thing in Wedding Crashers, but it works really well here.
I just love that. As soon as he's done, he's like, "That was terrible," and she's just in like
It's great.
the exact opposite.
Dennis is just sweating bullets, and she is cool as a cucumber.
Oh
It's a
man,
nice
I
little
just
touch.
love it, dude. As she whispers the "I love you" into his ear, like, and that's his very, very bad thing, and then he gets to live that as a reality. So yeah, great stuff here, man. Before we kick off the award tour, let's see what other people thought about this episode. Over on IMDb, the Maureen Ponderosa Wedding Massacre is rated 8.7. That actually puts it in a tie for 39th overall out of 169 total episodes of Sunny. So that puts it in the top 25% of episodes. For me, Mills, I think that's probably the right place for it, dude. I might even go a smidge higher here. I think this one, I'm pretty bullish on this one, man. After rewatching this a couple times to do this podcast, I think this episode, like, it's hard for me to find something that I don't like about this episode. So I think that's probably the right spot up for it, but I might even bump it up a little bit further. What about you?
I think I am in the same boat as you. I would say more top 20%, or maybe you even get into like top 25 overall, kind of. I don't think it's in the top 10%. That would be the top 15 basically, but I think it's in, definitely in the mix for somewhere in between 15 and 30, depending on how I'm feeling. Because I think a lot of those episodes are so good. It just depends on which one you've seen last, or did something happen in your life, or you saw something that made that one resonate with you a little bit more. But yeah, especially around Halloween time watching this, it feels like there's no reason this couldn't be like a 9.0, which would put it right up there in like that, top 20-ish range. And so, yeah, I think it's certainly fair, but it could be a little higher with you.
Yeah, I totally agree. Well, we're always looking to get people, new people who haven't enjoyed Sunny into Sunny, and it's a Halloween season. So I don't know, maybe this would make a good episode to show somebody who's never seen the show. What do you think, Mills? Would this be a good kind of gateway episode here to show a Sunny Virgin?
I want to say yes because of the genre stuff, the music and everything, but honestly, so much of this is dependent on knowing who these characters are, especially the supporting characters. It would be really tough to come in cold to this one, I think. My guess is people would be like, "Oh, that was fun," but they would just remember it as a Halloween thing, and not like they might remember the McPoyles more than any of our main characters from the gang, except maybe Dennis. So I'd say probably not, although I think it would be harmless, right? Like if you showed this to someone, even if they didn't love it or remember watch, I think they'd be willing to watch another one still. I don't think it would kill it, but I think there are probably a lot of better Gateway episodes. How about yourself?
There with you, because if you don't understand some of the background of the McPoyles specifically, or the Maureen Ponderosa Dennis background, it's not going to hit as hard as it should. And so I think that's probably the biggest thing. The other thing is I don't know that you get enough Charlie in this one to show somebody. So I think I'm in the same ballpark as you.
Yeah, totally agree. It's just not as much of the gang. And look at all the jokes that you need to know to pay off, like Charlie not wanting to leave Philly, them destroying Dee's cars. There's a bunch of kind of runners like that keep going here, which are great for us, but they wouldn't pay off nearly as much for someone who hadn't seen any episodes. And
Totally.
one of the things we really enjoy doing with Sunny episodes is trying to come up with alternate episode titles. I am not going to lie, the Maureen Ponderosa Wedding Massacre is perfectly on brand for the show, for Halloween, but I think we have to try. So let's see if we can do anything else. Jamie G, I give you the Dennis Reynolds divorce debacle. Is that any good?
Ooh, boy, that's a great one, Mills.
5 D.
It's you're
The
hard
triple D.
pressed
It's a triple D. So it also fits with the triple D, you know.
You're hard pressed to get a better episode title than what they did here, but that's pretty good. I kind of like D sucks the poison. I just there's something about if
D
you
swallows the poison would be better. Let me go with D swallows the poison.
D swallows the poison. That's good too, because it's poison, it's scary, it's Halloween. I think it still fits with the Halloween vibe. I could get on board with something like that.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to keep it Halloween, I like something like Midnight McPoyles. That sounds kind of like
nice alliteration.
Or, the McPoyles protect the bloodline.
I like that too.
That sounds kind of fun. If you want to keep it kind of with the traditional, the way they do the titles, D buys a PT Cruiser, I think would at least be somewhat interesting on that. Or Dennis versus nipple placement. I think you would have to be at least like kind of intrigued. And if you just wanted to shout out Lauryn Hill, how about the zombification of William P?
Ooh, like that. Shout out William P. That's my man. Pondy gets blitzed is always a fun one too. We could, just for
it's not like Pondy spikes the punch, spikes the milk. Like Ponderosa, I like how Frank calls him Ponderosa sometimes. Is that a Pondy here because he's not quite full Pondy yet?
Yes, yeah, he hasn't emerged as full Pondy yet.
He's not into his final. He's not hanging out at the roller rink yet.
Not yet. But those days. But
he is looking for Strange, so he's on his way.
He is. If you're here in the tribe, that means it's time to kick off the award tour. First stop is our favorite quote from the Maureen Ponderosa Wedding Massacre. Mills, I can't. It was going to be Dennis always, but I got to go with when he first sees her enhancements.
Why, Maureen, you've enhanced yourself.
Yeah, I got my tooth fixed.
I'm talking about your tits, your big, giant new titties, Maureen. Why would you do that now? Why not when we were together, when I could have...
I told you I was willing to change.
Yeah, but I didn't know you meant physically, that you would change physically. Why weren't you more clear with me, Maureen?
Absolutely hilarious. I gotta go there.
Jamie, to be fair, she never made it clear to Dennis that she was willing to change physically. She should have been more clear with that. So
she should have been more clear.
That might be on her. I mean, you really want to know that? Oh man, see, you didn't go with a Pondy quote, so that kind of makes me want to go to a Pondy quote. But man, you know what? We're doing the Pondy quote. Screw it. So let's go with my favorite quote being when Pondy tells D about the bath salts.
Come on, loosen you up a bit and make your butthole hot.
How is drinking a glass of milk going to loosen me up, Bill?
I spiked the milk with methylene dioxypyrovalerone.
What?
It is bath salts. Yeah, it's like Coke and acid and meth all combined. It's awesome.
I get it.
That may be top 10 Pondy quote ever. That's way up there.
It's awesome.
There. Yeah, it definitely is. Next up is our favorite moment or scene from the Maureen Ponderosa Wedding Massacre. Mills, you can take this one first.
You know what? I just have to go with back to the Dennis PNC. I think there's immediate, just post-sex. As soon as you get Dennis's face, he's like, "Oh, what am I doing? What am I doing? You need to sign these papers. We need to get out of here." And he's just sweating bullets, and it's just absolute top tier Dennis. Honorable mention, just the physical comedy of Mac and Charlie crashing Dee's PT Cruiser into a tree in the dark. Just great job. They make it look really blow up. They get out. They're all like, Charlie's puking. That's all really fun. But I think I have to go with Dennis Reynolds, post-sex regret. How about yourself?
Oh, man, that is a fantastic one. It's like you start juggling. I think I'm going to actually go with the scene with Pondy and Frank when he's first trying to, weddings are a trigger for him, man. He needs a sponsor. That whole scene's just pure gold to me.
You're my sponsor, Frank. Come on, my support system. Give me some.
Right. Of course. So do whatever you feel is best.
Well, I feel it would be best if I pounded a beer.
I'll support that decision.
I wish I could. I mean, it's a dry wedding. For God's sake, they're serving milk. I feel like maybe I should do some drugs then, Is that bad?
You earned it. Yeah. You do whatever you feel like. You're a good person.
I gotta go there with it. Shout out Pondy, man. Miss you, Pondy.
Yeah, I mean, I would go to Beirut and do a show there with that. I would literally, if you just gave me the Pondy and Frank Chronicles,
That's
I'd be
that's a
I'd be
side
ever
show
so
I would
excited.
watch in a heartbeat.
Even if it was
Yeah.
animated or something, I'll take whatever we can get.
Oh, yes, we would. Now it is time for one of my favorite parts of doing this, our 5-star man or woman. This is where we determine our episode MVP by ranking the characters from 1 to 5 stars. 1 star is at the bottom, and our 5-star man or woman is our MVP. Mills, get out your phone and start handing out some ratings.
Yeah, I mean, you got to hand out these stars, right? At the bottom, number 1, I'm going to go with Charlie. Did not have a ton to do in this episode. Wish there was more, but he's got the great monologue, him crashing the car, the Batman conversation. That all works. 2-star, give me Frank. I like the scene at Patty's where they're scheming with Ryan. The whole bit, like you said, your favorite moment where he's Pondy doing the sponsor thing, sucking out the poison out of his head. Just kind of him in general, just doing his Frank thing, bouncing back and forth from scene to scene, from crash to crash. Love it. 3-star, dude, Pondy. Why? Because he's Pondy. You only look at it and make him higher. I just can't make Pondy 5-star every time. That he's still working up to being the fully realized Pondy here. 4-star man, not quite 5-star, but I am going Dennis. I think this is a very fantastic Dennis Reynolds episode. It's awesome. It's way up there. The only reason he is not the Golden God, my 5-star man, is because I got to give it up for the brothers McPoyle as my 5-star men. Ryan and Liam, they're a pair, right? You see here, you can't break them apart. They are a pair. They come in the box together. You cannot open it. They are not worth as much if you separate them. You bring them together. They're going to taint the bloodline of the entire world. And you know what? I believe they can do it. Jamie G, who are your 5-star people?
Love it. Love it. Well, my 1 star is going to be Frank. Frank, I love you. You did great in this episode. He was hilarious, dude. From like you said, the sucking the poison. The fact that he paid $200 to ever suck the poison out of it. That just so funny to me. His scenes with Pondy, his scheming behind the scenes. He was just fantastic. 1 star going to Frank. That's not a down thing. This is just a heater of an episode. So all these people are great. 2-star, I got to give it up for Dee. I just thought she kind of, in a way, carried this episode a little bit, and she came in so clutch. Her physical comedy was incredible, and just the way we kind of get the final story here with her at the end bumps her up. 3, I have got the McPoyle brothers. They're hilarious together. You made the point. You can't separate the two. That's enough said. They're just great. Shout out Pappy, though. I almost put Pappy in this ranking. If he had one more scene, maybe if we saw the bird under his head, something, he could have been in here, but he was close. Pappy, he was close. 4, I have got Dennis. Dennis, you are the man in this episode. This is a great Dennis episode for people who like Dennis, or people who are like, I don't know if Dennis is that great. Oh, he is. Watch this one. But number 5, in a surprise move, Magnum Mills, in a very surprise move here, I'm putting Maureen Ponderosa as my 5-star woman. Why? She made the enhancements. She fixed the tooth. She did not marry McPoyle, and she got her man back, Dennis Reynolds. She wins. I got to give it to Maureen.
Wow, he goes with the Ponderosa, but not the one we had anticipated. I had legitimately already written Pondy down on the paper in my notes. Like, oh, Jamie G is
curveball.
He's going Pondy here. So Pondy not appearing in the top 5. He doesn't get any stars. 0 stars for Pondy. Oh, dude. He's gonna hear about this. We're gonna get it.
I know, Pondy. I love you.
Jamie G's got 0 stars for you in an episode where you were handing out bath salts like it was, you're giving out bags of air and you're going to hell.
I know. I love you, Pondy. It was tough sledding here, man, but I absolutely love you. Tough. If there was a 6-star, maybe I'd give it to Pondy, but my 0-star, whatever.
The 13th apostle, whatever. We get it, dude.
Yeah. Oh man, that's a tough exercise. Let us know who your top 5. Let us know your MVP and your 5-star man. We'd love to hear from you. Hit us up. You can find us at Night Pod Cometh. The final stop on our award tour isn't Dave & Buster's. Of course, it isn't. We don't have power cards. We have Patty's Bucks. It is time to give a grade to the Maureen Ponderosa Wedding Massacre, and we each grade the episode on a scale of 0 to 100 Patty Bucks. I'm up first here, Magnum Mills. I got to tell you, brother, I'm hard-pressed to not go really big on this one, and so I'm going to go really big on this one. I am going to give it 96 Patty Bucks. This is a fantastic episode. I love it. There's not much about it that I can nitpick. It's great. It's all that. Give me 96 Patty's Bucks, and let's stimulate this local economy.
You know what? I'm there for, whatever. We're going to do what you should do. We're going to lower the tax rates, and we're going to do stimulus. Not how you should create your economy. But in this case, I am going to give it 93 Patty's Bucks. You talked me up a touch. I was at 92. Your enthusiasm sold me. I do really love this one. I think it could be in the argument for your top, 20-ish, maybe even 15-ish episodes. I think we're a little bit biased because it's closer to Halloween, but I completely enjoy it. So, what the hell, right? We're just going to spend these bucks at Patty's. We're going to go back outside, hang out in our RVs, and they're going to redistribute the dollars to us anyways, because that's how this works, right?
That's exactly how it works. I mean, it's economics. It's how money flows, cash flow.
Right, we're following your plan, so.
Yeah, that's how it is.
I guess that's it, dude. Anything else before we get out of here? Otherwise, maybe try to finish up season 11.
Yeah, I think we should absolutely try to finish season 11 right here on the Night Pod Cometh. We've saved a couple of the good ones of season 11, which is filled with bangers for the end here. What do we got next coming up on the docket?
Straight fire. Now that we've done this, we've already done the other things we need to do Frank Falls Out the Window. Then it will be McPoyle versus Ponderosa, trial of the century. And then finally, Mac and Dennis move to the suburbs. And then it will be on to more Sunny. But we've been literally trying to finish season 11 for almost a calendar year, if not more. We're going to do it, I promise. And it's going to be spectacular. Just don't ask us why Charlie and Frank are wearing those Russian hats. We don't know. We never find out. Not even Frank versus Russia.
You don't. And they're still looking for the Russian in the Pine Bluffs, the woods there. So
yeah, the Pine Barrens. Yeah, we haven't had
the Pine Barrens.
All you got to know is, when you go to his house, make sure you put the remote on the docking station.
Yeah, man, interior decorator.
Yeah, the place looks like shit, dude.
Oh man!
Shout out to Sopranos. Yeah, that's it's Jersey. It's almost Philly.
It's just
most of Jersey is just a part of Philly, anyways. Everyone knows that.
Well, I'm pumped up to do more Night Pod Cometh and maybe to get to see our buddy Pondy back in the scene. Thank you for becoming our buddy by checking out the Night Pod Cometh. We love doing these throwback episodes, and we love to hear from other Sunny fans. If you got something in particular, an episode that you'd like us to talk about, hit us up, man. We will absolutely do it. Give us a reason to watch a great episode. Maybe we're sleeping on one. Maybe there's one that we need to go back to. Let us know in the comments section of this YouTube video or on our social media. We're at Night Pod Cometh. Mills, you'll fill in the additional details, won't you, pal?
You did a pretty good job of that, man. What was that joint? You used to have to fill in that, not choose your own adventure. What was it? The categories, or I don't know, what was the joint where you like
ad libs?
Mad Libs, right?
Mad Libs,
dude. So
shout out Mad Libs.
Yeah, thank you for checking out the Night Pod Cometh, the Mad Libs of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia coverage. Seriously, thank you. We appreciate it. Find us wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, on social media at Night Pod Cometh. Do not forget those flaps. Follow, like, and please subscribe. It's all we ask. If you had fun, give us that thumb. Helps us out a lot. Helps other people find our show, and it helps expand the community of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia fans. And that's what you want, right? You want more people to watch Sunny and talk about it because it's awesome, and it will be until the end of time, or at least until the Nightman cometh. Thank you for checking out the Nightman cometh. Thank you for checking out the Night Pod Cometh. I'm Magnum Mills. He's Jamie G. And it's awesome that you're fighting for the Night Pod Cometh. Whoa!
Whoa!